So welcome to Vilcabamba Real Estate Disclosures. So we want to do a channel update. As we enter our 9th month, we appreciate the views and the comments, whether one agrees or disagrees. Our email is a better way to contact us and initiate a conversation, and that is in the video description. But what we really want is to work collectively to dissect this non-legally existent real estate operation in Vilcabamba, its consultants and construction operation, with subdivisions projects in San Pedro and Cucanama, including all prior land and home transactions. For the Abundant Living Ecuador believers outside of Vilcabamba, their videos discuss the community and the community lifestyle. The people you see in the videos don't actually exist in real time in Vilcabamba. And so it's almost like you're watching a TV show, right? Like Married with Children. So if you run into Al Bundy in town, he's not the Al Bundy that you're used to seeing. This is exactly what's happening in Vilcabamba. The crew, I walked past them dozens and dozens and dozens. They'll never look at you. They won't acknowledge you. And they're going to keep this separation. The separation is really important because they don't want any questions. They don't want anybody questioning them about what's going on. And so that is a fact, all right? So what you're seeing on YouTube is a show, right? This is a show, and unless you're in Vilcabamba, and even if you went on one of these retreats, now the retreats are rather interesting, right? Because here we have them using your money, the participants' money, where they're going to wine and dine you, and it's going to be 9 days of horseback riding, massages, and meeting with the lawyer, and you get to meet with the architect, and they're going to take you to a good place to eat, and you're going to go to Loja. But you know what? That's just a 9-day trip. I mean, that's not the reality of living there. You could go to any place for 9 days and have a good time. But living in Vilcabamba is unlike any place you've ever lived in, right? So it is Groundhog Day. There isn't a lot going on there. It's a very quiet little quaint village, and everybody knows or thinks they know everybody there. Just a rather odd place, frankly. And so don't be taken in by this retreat that they're doing. And all they're really doing is they're just fattening you up for the kill. So if you are a long-term Abundant Living Ecuador follower, good for you, right? But what we're going to ask you to do, if you're in Vilcabamba, you're coming there, it'd be really nice if you could go to Charlitos. They have really nice beverages and food. You need to go around town. You need to talk to everybody you can. You could visit La Terraza. They actually have really nice lunch specials. I think their guacamole is outstanding. A lot of people like the Juice Factory, not really a fan here. Natural Yogurt was excellent. I met a lot of people that became friends at Natural Yogurt. And UFO, of course. And there's also online platforms. And you need to dig deep. You can't accept these videos. These marketing videos are laugh out loud. I mean, they're just completely false. So one of the kind of the behaviors, if you will, that Abundant Living Ecuador has with regard to their YouTube channel is they're going to police the comments. And a lot of people have complained that they're going to be deleted. If you make any comment, if you ask any intelligent question, if you're critically thinking, or you have a criticism, you will be deleted, okay? They're not interested in that, right? You're going to listen to what they say, and you're going to agree what they say, and you're going to go along with what they say, or they're not going to engage you, right? And so this is another thing that people have complained about. And so we would ask, if you have any doubts about that, we've talked about this idea that they don't exist. A lot of Americans or Canadians, well, what do you mean they don't exist? They have a website, right? They have a YouTube channel. Yeah, they do. But they're not a registered company. They don't have a corporate bank account. They don't have a Ecuadorian tax account, right? The people that are depositing money that when these transactions are depositing in U.S. and Ecuador bank accounts. These are personal bank accounts. Right? They don't even show copies of the real estate license. So we would challenge all the naysayers out there. Hey, ask them the hard questions. Don't be this American that's just going to roll with the punches, that just going to, hey, these people are cool and I really trust them, because that's exactly what they're setting up, is they want you to trust you. But don't forget, once that transaction's over, you don't have any recourse. There's no existing, you have recourse. You're going to have to sue Jesse, right? And that's what happened. He's got a couple of lawsuits now, and because there is no company there. And I think people really have a hard time with that. It's just really, it is a mirage. It's completely fake. So this operation, it's got all the vestiges of a complete gaslighting marketing scam. It's got it all. So we can see on Spotify, we can see Carl, Jesse, Brandon, Ryan. I don't know what their education levels are. I don't know what their training is. But I think they have probably a master's in bullshittery, right? But they're experts on everything. If you listen to them, they're experts on climate change, right? They're experts on investments. They're investment specialists. They are going to tell you the latest and, of course, the truest information about crime and safety in Vilcabamba, right? Their talents are endless. But what they really are is they're social media influencers. That's really all they are. And if you're sitting there in another country and you haven't been to Vilcabamba, then you better get off your ass and get down there and check it out, or start getting online, because you are in trouble. So what's also happened is we're hearing, what's Jesse's last name, right? Is it Bayer? Is it Bayezski? He is a Jewish Pole, a Polish guy who's Jewish, that we do know, right? But we can see with this Bayezski-Mena-Enterprises, it's a shell company. If you look at that, there's a link in the description about this company. They actually have a 78% negativity rating on EMIS, their hosting site. So also, when you look at, if you go back and look at Jesse's career, in New York, he was apparently this cutting edge realtor. There's no proof of that. There's no proof that he was ever a realtor in New York. But if you go back to DD, who we talk about, who's the co-founder of Abundant Living Ecuador in 2016, DD exists. I exist on the internet. Jesse doesn't. He's got if he was this fantastic realtor with these great ideas, what was he doing? He was turning low-income housing into something, or whatever he did. Well, of course, he would have engaged with the government. There would have been articles. He would have had meetings with the city council, the board of supervisors, or something. But there's absolutely no proof. And so then we had the Bayezski Finca, right? This is where they got that drink that they're trying to shove down your throats, because it's just so good for you, right? As they are. So onwards to Glenn Sanderese, though that was a murdered realtor. Okay, so we have an article about a Canadian expat real estate agent, Glenn Sanderese from Canada, that was found dead on February 20th, 2013. In his real estate office. He was 53. By the time they found him, he had been dead for some time. They have unconfirmed reports about a broken bottle that was used in the assault. There was defensive wounds. This was not a robbery. Nothing was stolen. This was a murder. And the police believe that possibly it was a personal issue or disagreement of some type. Now, this is fairly important because there's death threats, right? People get death threats. I know people that had death threats, several people in Vilcabamba, and this is the way the Ecuadorians roll. And so Glenn had those death threats, and he didn't respond to them. And so on to the next article, and the next article is dated February 26, 2013. So the police continue to investigate. No, they're not investigating. The police don't have the interest, the salary, the aptitude, the training, the resources to do anything close to what we would consider a murder investigation, right? So like Francesca Williams, who was murdered, and Wes Weaver, who was murdered in April of 2024. those murders are never going to be solved. But what they are saying is that, of course, Francisco Riofrio has no idea of the motive. That would be a lie, of course. He was the business partner. But it goes on to say that several Vilcabamba expatriates have reported, however, that Sanderese has been criticized for business reasons in internet blogs. And this is fairly significant because the fraud that Glenn was doing is the same fraud that Jesse's doing. Almost the identical fraud, right? They've been doing it for decades now. It's what they do. It's what foreigners do, and the Ecuadorians and the Peruvians, right? They're going to rip you off, and they're going to rip you off big, and you're not going to be able to do anything about it. So the channel did speak with people who knew Glenn, back in that time in 2013. There's really not much to say. Looks like he was kind of a loner type. He'd only been there for 3 years. There was a Colombian female couple that was linked to the murder, but again, it will never be solved. And so, but it is odd, right? Because we have these death threats. Now, that's not something in the U.S. that we're going to be too familiar with, but that if you have that recorded or something, that could be a serious legal issue. But Glenn ignored it. Jesse is ignoring his death threats. I know for sure that he's had them. And it's interesting that Jesse hasn't packed his bags, but it's the same thing as Glenn. They don't really get it. Somehow they feel they're safe, right? There's this false sense of safety, I think. But, we don't wish Jesse any physical harm. We'd sort of like to see his freedom and his assets seized. As a psychopath, it would be, death would be easier than going to prison, which is where we hope this guy ends up. And so it's the operation that needs to go to the graveyard, not Jesse. As good fortune would have it, we have Yadira All-A-Con, who now inhabits the location where Glenn was murdered. As reported, Yadira, acting as a lawyer, translator, post office, and realtor, juggling all those balls, is an unprofessional, greedy, and dishonest person. So inhabiting Glenn's former space, which has been vacant for the last decade, sounds like karma.